sort of not any like particularly, again, like if I was really doing this more as a pure mage, I really would prefer a robe because I wouldn't have to mess around with armor skill at all. But these guys have such high natural strength that it's fun to do the armor thing. Yeah, well, he's got PDA. That's really the only armor that he has. The only difference between this and a pure mage is that I would be in a robe, and I would be really looking for maybe Arc Magi, maybe something like Robe of Resistance, just to get my resists in order, if I wanted to. Arc Magi is a really, really good one though, just a spell power increase. Or maybe something crazy like the Robe of Vines, or possibly some kind of artifact robe that just had really good stuff on it. So typically you don't wear armor this heavy. A common thing is something like Swamp Dragon armor for something like an Ogre that can't wear, if it did want to upgrade its defenses, or Acid Dragon armor. Let's try that again. Yeah, it only has ER 7, so it's even less, and it's got +7. That's kind of a good armor for this, for like an Ogre mage that wants to have some upgraded defenses, maybe because they would like to do some melee. But yeah, this is a species that more hybrid-y style mages will be pretty fun with it, because it's got all this strength, so it can wear some armor without really having to put any points into strength. It will easily get all the strength it needs from intrinsic levels and from level ups. Then you just gotta focus on improving your int, so that you can have some spell power, or you can really go lighter on spells and mostly just focus on dex and try to get some dodging if you want to just mostly transition out of spells, or maybe go into something like statue form or something like that. Statue form, you're not going to wear too much in the way of armor because that kind of defeats the purpose, but you might wear up to Swamp Dragon armor because you can cast statue pretty easily in that. Or Acid Dragon armor would be really nice, or even Troll Leather. That would impede your spell casting if you wanted to mostly use statue form. Not even going to put on my RF, we're just going to see how it goes. So far it's going pretty well. Now we're out of MP. No, I don't mind SC. How high is your spellcasting? Spellcasting pretty high. I actually have higher spellcasting than my other skills. Mostly I've been a little bit concerned about food. You can wear Gourmand or use a Staff of Energy so that you don't really have to worry about food at all. Some species that go... It's one word, splat ratio. Some species have really high, like a Deep Elf is going to have like 10 points higher int, and their spell hunger is going to be even lower, so they can kind of get away with even lower. And so it kind of depends on spell casting frequency. If you're a pure mage, you're going to want, like, you're probably going to end the game with, I mean, I would say at least 15 spell casting, and probably more typical to get around 18 or so, or at least 16 maybe. It would depend on your actual int. If you get mega int, you can probably do fine with 15 or 16. Yeah, I pointed out Logic Ninja because they play extremely fast, and he kills most of his characters, including characters that get Firestorm. So yeah, you usually have enough spellcasting so you can have MP. MP is big, and I'm talking a lot about spell hunger. It's not really too much of an issue, but it's one of those things, if you forget about it, it's going to become an issue and you're going to realize, oh, I don't have any food left in the game. So don't forget about getting enough to manage your spell hunger, or use a Staff of Energy or something. It's a common mistake to make. and it's an easy thing to thwart. The actual hard thing is like managing your MP and using your spells correctly. That's the really difficult stuff, but it's easy to screw up something easy like Spell Hungers. That's why I just kind of mention it. So I guess probably the smartest thing here would be, I'm gonna put on my RF. I don't necessarily need it, but hey, perfect timing. We're gonna swift it up. Doop doop. We'll go up here and rest. We'll go back down. We can take this guy out much more comfortably. Oh my, there were more elves. There were many more elves than we thought. We thought they were dead. We thought there were no more elves. But they kept coming. In the darkness we heard them laughing. We heard them baking delicious Keebler cookies and cakes and snack breads. Tasty cakes that would drive you mad with hunger. Yeah, that's what's cool about having AC, and a lot of mages, they nice. Also, the shield. The thing about Reflect is it's one of those properties where people like see one enemy get killed, and they're like, "Dang, Reflect is so OP." But Reflect is not that strong unless you've got quite a bit of SH, so that the effect actually triggers. And I think the actual like overall value of it is fairly low. It's really mostly about having SH. That's another thing, you do want to have a buckler, at least a buckler, and it's very common just to stop at a buckler for most species. This species can't wear bucklers and only has to get 9 skill to get a medium shield, so that's what we did. But for most other species, 4 skill and a buckler and you're good. Lining up those enemies. Gotta line them up. Yeah, it is a satisfying thing. I will grant that. Especially if you like get something like a crystal spear and it gets reflected and it one-shots. That's pretty cool. There it is. There's the Faith Ammy, folks. What do we got? Reflect. SH plus 5. Well, I'm going to go ahead and don this one. Nice for the double prompt. So we can get to 6 stars, and then after that I'll probably put back on... I'll probably put back on the Reflect. Sif is actually nice with Faith. I do like the ability to spam. I actually could keep this on just fine and go ahead and ascend with it, to be honest. So maybe I too have airstrike. Windrake. Yeah, Bolt of Drain's doing a lot of good work here. I'm using this spell over Lightning Bolt because it has better accuracy for like small numbers of targets, 1 or 2, unless you want to, double zap, but you have to set up each one, and it's also quieter. So it's become my new. I can also enhance it with Staff of Conj, which is great. Satisfying crawl things. This is a nice little room we got going on here. Oh wow. I have to channel. That. Killing a room full of OOD monsters, nothing but a bunch of bolts of drain, and 1 Sif channel. That's my contribution to the satisfying crawl things. Pack is full. That is not... Pack is full messages are not satisfying crawl things. I also realized I probably should go ahead and do some mutation now, because we've got a lot of these pots. Alright, I was actually going to do that at one point, and then I didn't. I think I wanted to finish the Shoals level, and then I never went back. Stabbing Orbs of Fire, yep, that can be a tough one to pull off, because Stealth Check is based on Monster HD, and they have 27. And they see Invis, of course. Get OD'd, son. So I got marked, but it's not really too big of a deal. Just kind of camp out on these stairs a bit. And then not much else. Let's go get that. Oh, thank you for the follow. Dizzy SA. Dizzy. Been a really smooth vault so far. Run into a bunch of OD stuff, but nobody can really damage this Ogre too effectively. So this has been a pretty nice run. I had a basic, what I would really consider a splat, not in Shoals 4, right on like the rune hut at the very end, and it was one of those situations where it was just a mistake, lack of care on my part. It wasn't anything like strategically I messed up. Like my Tengu that I lost recently was a very instructive splat, because I didn't really fundamentally made some mistakes that I corrected eventually, but in my Tengu. But by the time I did, I had really poured through too many consumables, and I just had made that game a lot more challenging than it needed to be. But this would have been just one of those things where, like, wow, you just didn't pay attention a little bit and you died. And I teleported when fighting the Rune Vault. There was, the usual big set of merfolk, and I was just taking a bit heavy damage, and I think I was kind of low on MP too. I can't remember exactly why, But I had set up just not a great situation. No big deal, you know, you just kind of teleport. But it teleported me into the vault, which is like, oh, oops. So then I re-teleport again, and I start taking a bit of damage, and I'm not healing, I'm just sort of moving. I'm just kind of like, you know, waiting for the teleport to kick in again. And then all of a sudden, bam, I'm down to 3 HP. A Aquamancer used the wave spell, which knocks you back, and it knocked me into a wall doing extra damage. So all I had to do was, you know, if you get a bad teleport, I mean, I obviously didn't even need to teleport. I could have gone ahead and used one of my blink scrolls to be more safe, or not set up the situation in the first place. But even with a bad teleport, it's something you can totally handle. However, it was not, instead of healing at that point, you know, just quaffing a couple heal wounds pots, I was like, you know, I don't need to, and then all of a sudden, wow, 3 HP. No, I don't, zombie. I'm a bad person to ask because I was the dev who removed item destruction in 0.15. I removed that and player burden. When I say I mean I made the commits. The decision was like a collective one with the dev team. We agreed that it was not a good feature, and it wasn't really salvageable. So that was a fun project for me in 0.15, going through and factoring code and removing all that. At one point I made, on a suggestion from Elliptic about ideas about how we might preserve some limits, we considered various things, and I implemented a special limit for large rocks, where it was like you could only have an amount that was based on strength, and it was just a limit. And so I coded that up, implemented it. We tested it, we realized it was actually worse because if a rock mulches, you got to go back and pick them up and find them, and we realized there's just no point in having those limits. So we removed having any attachment to inventory limits. Okay, mutation. There are ways you can do interesting item destruction in games. If you want to play a roguelike where item destruction is heavily featured and you can see kind of both the cool stuff and the not so cool stuff that comes from it, play Cogmind. That game is basically designed around item destruction, and some aspects of it are pretty cool, but some of the stuff that was an issue already in Crawl does become even more extreme in that game, and not very fun in my opinion. At least for repeated playthroughs. And there are some other games that feature it. Hell, even the latest Zelda game has extensive item destruction. So it's not that it cannot be done, but there are challenges with it. I guess I will go. I'm gonna see if I can basically get some free resists. Yeah, there will be a lot of stuff to learn. It would depend on how long ago you played, but there's certainly a bunch of changes. It will seem... I mean, most of it, to be fair, will feel the same, but there will be enough changes that there will be a lot of unfamiliar things. A 10 version break. Yeah, it's a pretty long break. I haven't even... 2 releases... Well, no. Actually, technically, I could have taken a 10 version break, because my first version was 0.10. The first one that I played online, I actually played some 0.9. Here we go. Oh, why you do this? Oh, that's pretty good. Plus 10 MP. much mutation do we got in the game? 2. Well, it would be nice to leave about 3, which means I only have 1 more to quaff. Maybe I'll just keep my MP for now, and if I run into a couple more... Dungeon's not 27 levels deep. I remember when Grunt made that change. That was one of his big changes, making depths. That was a pretty cool Grunt change. One of his best changes. I think, I don't remember how much, I think it was, he was pretty much the main, it had been an idea that had been talked about, like a lot of big crawl changes, like item destruction removal, for instance. Gets talked about a ton before somebody finally sits down to actually do it. And it just gets spitballed a bunch back and forth. But he was definitely the major person behind that. And then after that, another nice commit was Draco Omega going through and reforming XP by looking at how much XP was actually in depths and dungeon and seeing that there was just still so much of it, so he went and removed a bunch by adjusting was it monster XP and the player cutoffs? I want to say player cutoffs were the main way he adjusted it. All right. Cutoffs for how much XP do you need to go from XLN to XLN plus 1. That's what I mean by the cutoffs. And also for skill points, because the way crawl works is you get XP, those are turned into skill points, and to get a certain skill to the next level you need so many skill points. Square loss is another thing that had been talked about forever. Like I said, like most crawl changes, Elliptic was the one who was the biggest single person behind that and had implemented a patch for it no less than like 2 times, maybe even 3. And there was always at least somebody who was really against it. Kilobyte, who was our most active dev, was pretty against it. And then Kilobyte left development around, I want to say around 0.15. And at that point, there wasn't anybody else who was really against it. So Elliptic yet again implemented it for, I guess that was in 0.17, wasn't it? 0.16 still has circle loss. The people who like circle loss really like the aesthetics of it. Visually it is sort of pretty, but gameplay-wise, it has a lot of problems, which you don't have to care about. But we're out. Who can outduel? His rocks were doing pretty good work there. Oh my. I rock shots at this guy at least. I'm just gonna sit on here. Nice. Blowing up fools. Yeah, it reveals more squares. Oops, we didn't want that. Up we go. Oh. How do you feel about Rakshasa's Orb of Destruction to the face? No, generally you want to reveal fewer squares, but it's the inconsistency between the movement. Revealing more squares would generally be more dangerous for you for casual play. For turn count, you wanna move diagonally. It was actually still the case that you reveal more squares when moving diagonally in circle loss. It's just that square loss became slightly higher. We also, though, decreased the los range, so that that mitigated it somewhat. I mean, I don't think it's that big of it. Revealing more tiles in the Abyss, I would prefer to reveal less tiles in the Abyss. I would prefer... The thing about the Abyss that you want to do is go in a consistent direction, so you generate new Abyss levels, so that you generate stairs/exits. Revealing more tiles, I don't really think actually gives you any particular advantage in the Abyss, because that movement tech in the Abyss is about generating new areas, which is based on proximity to the edge of the level. Because the way the Abyss works is you're in a fixed map, but as you move to the edge of the level, if you get close enough, it takes where you are and it shifts the entire area around you, including any vault that you may be in, more into a central area of the level, and then regenerates outside of that area within a certain amount of space. So as you actually get close to the true edge of the map, you get shifted. Essentially, you get sort of warped. So if you move in a diagonal, you're still traveling this, you're still taking the same length of path, assuming that you had open space in front of you or something. So it's really not, revealing more tiles isn't going to be of much benefit for the Abyss. It's just traveling distance that's a benefit. Traveling closer to the map edge, I should say. Yeah, that exit tile... Oh. That phenomenon is pretty much based on what I just described. Wow, that guy is, he's hardy. Oh. Can I hit him? No. Yes, you have evocable channel magic, and she has a divine energy automatic, a sort of passive that you can toggle on and off, where you can cast a spell and it will, if you don't have sufficient MP, it will let you cast it still, but then based on how much MP it took, you won't be able to cast any more spells for a little while. So if you watch, you can see me using that. You'll see minus cast pop up on my screen sometimes.